Hiya, welcome to A Car is Born. Now, before I can start building my Cobra, I need something to bolt all the bits to, the chassis. It comes in 63 different parts. That's a steering rack mount, that's a brake servo mount, and that, apparently, is a front member. Now, putting it all together is not a DIY job. You buy the complete made-up part, and it costs £1,099. So before I shell out that kind of money, I want to see how my chassis is made. So I've come to the Pilgrim factory in West Sussex to meet Peter. Peter, very hot indeed.
Very hot.
This is my chassis, the beginnings of it. Yeah, good stuff. You started work on it. What's the process then? Because you've got 63 bits. How do you actually get it into the final shape?
Well, I start at the front.
Right.
That little piece there, which is called a front scoop.
Right. That looks deceptively like my front member.
That's it.
This is my front member, right? Is there. That's my front member.
We put these bits on.
Yeah.
These on. Just basically carry right through the chassis.
So it's almost like fitting a jigsaw together?
Basically, yeah.
OK.
Clamp it down. Chassis pins.
How do you know that you're putting it all in exactly the right place? You have to carefully measure everything out?
Everything's jigged up. Well, there is an engine mount already on the jig. I'll just place...
Jigged off? What on earth does jigged off mean?
On the jig there. I'll just pop it on there.
Yeah.
And that is it. Same there.
Right, so the jig has all these bits?
That's it, yeah.
So this bit is the jig?
Yep.
Has all these kind of brackets and things on, which is where you place all the parts against? Making chassis is your job?
All the time, yeah.
Every day?
Every day of the week.
Do you not get a bit bored of it?
No, I love it.
And do you like cars?
Yeah, I love them.
Do you? Have you got a Cobra or
no
kit car? What have you got then? What do you do?
I build hot rods.
Hot rods?
For my hobby, yeah.
You're kidding? Really? The real kind of zappy, wide...
That's it, yeah. Doing an Austin Devon pickup at the moment.
And how much time do you spend doing that?
Quite a lot. Nearly every night of the week. Weekends.
What does her indoors think about that then?
That's a little whinge like all of them, but not too bad.
I know you're making my chassis, but can I weld a bit of it so I know that I've had a part to play in making every part of my car?
Sure you can. Have you done any welding before?
No.
I'll show you quickly then.
Is it very difficult?
Yeah.
He's only been doing it 30 years, so he should be pretty good at it.
Use that one.
What, your hat?
It's easier, yeah.
Why?
It's automatic.
An automatic welding hat?
You can see through it all the time.
OK. All right, so the process without actually doing it, show me what I've got to do. Right.
Keep that about like that, about 45, 45.
Yeah.
And draw it along nice and gently. Good penetration will give you a good weld.
45, 45, good penetration. That's the secret of 30 years success, you see. Right, here we go. So, starting here, right on the corner.
Yeah, that's it.
45, 45.
Yeah.
Here we go. Well, it smells great. Give me marks out of 10. Any good?
That's not bad, actually.
What do you mean, actually?
That's pretty good. I'll give you about 8 out of that one.
8 out of 10. You're going to test it, though? It's got to be strong, isn't it?
I'm going to test it for you.
Go on then.
Oh, it's lovely. Nearly as good as me.
Top job. Time for a look at another home-built project. Not all kit cars are muscle motors. Dickie Dawes has built an altogether gentler vintage tourer.
I'm Dickie Dawes, and this is my car, which is a special, which is the Citroen Somerset. I started building it 2 years ago on Christmas Eve. I took the 2CV, which is what it was originally, into the workshop. And then on April the 2nd, it was put on the road as a Citroen Somerset, as a special. The whole thing is based purely on one donor, 2CV, of which I've then used the original chassis, made a body frame out of steel tube, and then skinned it in aluminium the way that they did years ago. I find the 2CV engines very, very reliable. This one has been converted to lead-free. 0 to 60 is eventually, but it has got a top speed of about 85 mile an hour, which is plenty fast enough in a car of this calibre. This car is worth about £6,500, but because it's a 2CV, you've got a job to get it. My new project, which is a 3-wheeled version, which is the Tri-Pacer, it's a super light one that I'm building, and the donor car 2 years ago was offered to me for £600. A year ago it was offered to me for £150. 3 months ago the guy came and said to me, you know, come and take it away. I said, well, we can negotiate now. So that's the way you get your donors, usually very, very cheaply. Advice for anybody thinking about building a car, the first thing I would suggest anybody does would be to pick which sort of model you want and get information from other people who have built already. If you're going to spend 2 or 3 years doing it, you're going to want it exactly how you want it. So get all the information together first before you start. And the best way to do that is join a club. And most clubs will allow you to join without owning a car.
I've got my chassis and I've chosen to have it galvanised because that form of protection should last a lifetime. The alternative is to buy it bare metal, but then you've got to degrease it, prime it, paint a top coat on it, and then probably have to repeat the top coat every couple of years or so. Clearly my decision was made having considered very carefully all the pros and cons and had nothing to do with the fact that Peter said it's only tight gits who don't have it galvanised. We've got to get it in the workshop though, that's the first thing. Now guys, I need a bit of a hand here.
Okay.
Apparently we can lift it, they tell me, to get it in.
Come
on guys, come on guys! This is really heavy. Hang on a minute, hold on. What about this chassis? It's our chassis that are giving out. Guys, the way to get it in there. That was easy, wasn't it, eh? Now, don't get carried away and think that you're going to start building this straight away, because that's what I thought. The manual says there's a lot of preparation work to do on this chassis first. I've put it up onto the firm axle stand so it's nice and safe, and I've got some drilling and filling to do. First of all, make sure this is done up really tight. The reason for doing this is because when the chassis is dipped in the molten galvanising liquid, zinc, it gets into the holes where we're going to need to put threaded rods through and things, and that makes the hole smaller, so we've got to drill out all that extra galvanising. Smoking. The last pair of holes are right up here, and the warning I got was to make sure these are cleared, because once you've got all the suspension to go up here and then you're trying to fiddle this bolt through, it's an absolute nightmare. So the trick is to get a bolt that you're not actually going to use, it doesn't matter if you ruin the threads, and then use that to basically screw through that hole. It's a little bit awkward, but it's going to save a lot of time later. Next job, sealing. No, not that one. This one, and lots of it. Because the sheet metal of the floor pan here is welded to box section, it's been spot welded rather than a big line of weld, because if you have a big line of weld, it deforms all the sheet metal, but you're left then with these kind of little pockets in here, and that all has to be sealed with this polyurethane sealant. So you come along here like this. Once you've actually put the sealant on, then it's a matter of smoothing it in a bit like you put the sealant round your bath. And I have to say, looking at this, I'm very glad this is going to be covered in carpet. Doing the seams is fairly straightforward, but it's when you get to big holes like this one here that you've got to fill that it becomes trickier, because as soon as you put the sealant in there, it just drops out onto the garage floor. So there is a trick. that you can get around that. So I nicked this off you. Sorry, but it's very sticky, this tape. But any tape will do. Stick the tape on the back of the hole. And then you can fill over the top of it. I've finished the ceiling, and I have to tell you that it is a very laborious job, but it's worth doing well because there are so many little nooks and crannies that at the end of the day could potentially leak water or so on through, so it's worth getting it finished and it's worth doing it well. That's all drying now. My next job is to prepare some of these bits that I took off my donor Sierra, and it's a real graft job. So that's it for part one. In part two, hopefully I'll have finished this and I can start assembling. Welcome back to A Car is Born. Now, I have to admit, I got completely bored of wire brushing all that front hub, so I took it down to a place where they could sandblast it for me and then paint it with this kind of hammer finish paint. And these two bits are basically the components, plus I got a hold of a brand new ventilated disc. Now that is worth spending some money on because clearly being able to stop is really important, and the old one was very, very rusty. Now we don't need these bits for now. What we do need though is start making the components that will actually attach this hub and the brake disc to the chassis. So that's the front suspension, and all these bits here are the bits that I need. The complex bit now is trying to get all the bits in the right place. We start, according to my manual here, with fitting bushes and ball joints to the wishbones. Now, these are wishbones. That's an upper one, that's a lower one. Now, I've already started with the lower one and put these bushes in, but I've got to do that with the upper one. These are the bushes. They come with the kit, and they've got to go in there like that. Look at that. It's like a job in the town. I've got to fit this ball joint into the upper wishbone here. Now, this is an adjuster nut which goes on here first, like that, and then this should screw into here. That's one upper one ready. It's very important that all the nuts you use are either nylock nuts like this, which have got a piece of nylon inside, which when it gets onto the thread of the bolt will actually lock it, or use castle nuts, which then have split pins in, because the last thing you want is any of this lot coming undone. And these got to be done up nice and tight. And you know I said I didn't have a vise. One of the reasons I don't need a vise is because I've got all kinds of hands, look, that can come in and help me. Right, that is going to go like that. Now this is a very exciting bit for me because this is the first part that I'm going to assemble to my car. It's the upper wishbone, and there are a lot of bits and washers in. I've got to get it all in the right order. So that's going to go like that. One of those on the outside. A bit of grease on here, like that. That's fine.
Got a hand?
No. No.
Sure.
You see, they always want to get in on this. You see, they said to start with that they weren't going to take part unless I asked them. Now, it's the first bit on the car, and everybody wants to take part. Oh, go on. No, if you insist, if you want to be a part of it. He'll be in a big huff now. I've sent him packing. And the next time I ask for some help, there won't be any. It was all go very well. It's quite important that you just take the slack out of this now, because obviously when all this is fixed together, it's going to hang down like that with its weight, which is a very unusual position for it, because obviously when it's off these axle stands and the car's actually on the ground, this will be up here somewhere. So if you tightened all these nuts up really tight to start with, it would mean that when the car's actually sitting on its wheels, all these bushes are under a lot of strain and they'll wear out quicker. So for now, we'll just tighten it up, basically so the slack's out, and then it'll all be tightened up when the car is actually on its wheels. Right, done that one. Now this one, the lower one. So, here. Oh, by the way, you can now see why it was important to take out the seats out of my old Sierra, because I'm saving my knees now, and so is dear old Jeremy. Washer. Now, I could really do with some help now, but I'm not going to ask. I'm fine. Yeah, don't you worry, guys. Don't you worry your little pretty heads about it. Oh, God. Stop smirking. That's that. This is a coil over shock absorber. It's a complete unit that's supplied with the kit, and it basically attaches first to the bottom wishbone in here. So. Next, I need to attach the top of this shock absorber unit into the chassis up here. It goes up like that. Word of warning, it's a good idea not to do this at midnight if you live in a built-up area. Has anybody got any idea how tight this should be?
No. No.
There was a deadly silence there. Did you notice that? No one's got any idea. Let's check the manual. While I just tighten this up, another chance for you to see how I got on at Knock Hill. See you later. Welcome to Knock Hill. Now today the mad fools let me loose on the track. This is Ian Forrest, who's a top racing champion in these cars, XR2s, and he's going to be taking me through it all. That's not bad for an old bloke, I have to say.
Thanks very much.
So I've driven one of these before. I had one as a practice car when I was a vet, so it's all very standard, normal seats. Shall we go?
No, I think we'll just wait a wee minute. There's one or two things we've got to go through first. Now, first of all, you're certainly looking the part, Mark. You've got the proper helmet.
It's good, this.
You've got all the gear.
Top.
What's this you've got on your feet?
What's the problem?
You're coming here to drive a race car. Do you work in a building site part-time?
These are my boots. These are my favourite boots. Are these no good then? What's wrong with these boots?
These boots have got as much feel for the pedals as an elephant would have.
Okay, I'm in. Right, Ian, what next?
Right, first thing we've got to make sure is that you're sitting in the right position. Go and press the clutch down. Can you get that clutch right down? You're stretching a wee bit there.
That's fully stretched.
Well, I think what we need to do is you sugar up and I'll press up another notch. Right, press the clutch again.
So what should be ideal? That your leg is not completely stretched?
It's just about almost stretched, but you don't want to be stretching for any pedal. What we've got to do when we're finished here is that you feel at one with the car. You're not stretching for the gear lever, you're not stretching for the pedals, and you're in the correct position so you can operate the steering wheel properly.
Right, okay.
Steering position I want you to have is about a 1/4 to 3 or a 10 to 2.
Yeah.
Hold the wheel. Now can you cross that wheel right round? That's perfect.
Aren't you always told when you're learning to drive, you should never do this?
That's correct, but that's for the main road. The main road you're driving along, you're probably on a lane that from the white line to the centre of the road's 8 or 10 feet, where feeding the steering wheel is perfect. When you go out in the circuit here, from one side to your turning point, to your apex, to your exit, that's about 60 feet of tarmac. We've got padding here on the roll cage. The roll cage is bolted to the floor all the way around the vehicle, and what we're trying to do here is, the roll cage serves two purposes. Obviously it's to protect you if you're involved in an accident, but it also strengthens the shell. It stops the shell flexing as you're going through the corners, makes the car more rigid, so it helps the performance of the car, it helps the handling capabilities. I'll get out, get to the other side, don't go anywhere till I get in the car, and then we'll take our first laps round the track.
Oh yes, oh yes! Adrenaline control, breathe in. This is the original but cleaned up wheel hub from the Sierra. It's had a new wheel bearing put in here, so that's all sorted out. Now in the Sierra, on the top here was a thing called a McPherson strut, which is a tall thing sticking out of the top with a spring on that went into the bodywork. Now we have to take that off because it'd be much too tall to fit in the Cobra. So the alternative is some special parts made for the Cobra. This is called a mushroom, which sits in the top of there like that. And now I can fix it onto here. Because first job is to attach it into the bottom ball joint, like that. Just attach that on loosely. I need to fix this mushroom in here with this pinch bolt before I do anything else. So I'm a terrible one for over tightening things, has to be said. My dad used to go crazy when I used to work on the cars at home, because I was always breaking bolts and splitting off nuts, but I hate to think of things being too loose. I'll tell you what's really interesting about doing this is, you know, when you see pictures of production lines for cars and they're all moving along a belt and they're all putting bits on, how on earth are you supposed to do this when you're moving along? It's hard enough when it's all stationary. Right, that's that done. Okay, now my upper wishbone should, in theory, it says, go into there. How is that going to work? You've got to get this nut right up inside here. Which I have to say, so far in building this car, as a vet, this is the nearest thing I've got to doing an internal examination. It's all by finger touch. Right. That's just about got it together. It's all right, isn't it? I'm quite proud of that. There are some fine adjustments to be done to this, but I'm going to leave that for now until there's some weight in the chassis when I can start playing with this without lifting the whole thing off the ground. So I can get straight on with the front suspension on the other side. I'll see you next time.